Okay, so this is the first of 3 video tutorials we're going to be looking at to do with feedback. And as you can see here, we're going to look at the differences between intrinsic feedback and extrinsic feedback, and we're also going to be looking at healthy active lifestyles. But for this video, we're just going to concentrate on intrinsic feedback and take a good look at that, make sure we've got a really good understanding of what that involves. So let's go and have a look at it now. The first thing we need to know is we need to make sure is that we have an understanding of what it means. And you can see that feedback is information. It's information about the performance and the way in which the performer has performed. And in this case, intrinsic means that it comes from within the performer. You can see it says here, inside the performer. So let's look a bit more detail exactly what that means. We need to go over here and look at this idea of feeling, and it's actually the feeling of the movement. You can just about see there. So let's have a look at the feeling. And now what we're not talking about here, and it's really important because sometimes people get confused about this, we're not talking about feeling as in emotion, as in that made me feel good, made me feel happy, or that made me feel annoyed or disappointed because of the way in which I carried out the movement. That's not the emotion, the emotive feeling we're talking about. We're talking about feeling literally how the movement felt. So how do we get that? Well, that comes about by little sense organs in the muscles which are called proprioceptors. Now these proprioceptors they give us the feeling of the movement, and they're found within the muscles, the ligaments and the tendons around the joints, and they send messages to the brain about particular movement. And it's those proprioceptors that tell us whether a movement's been successful or not. And that is what leads to intrinsic feedback. Now we must be able to give some examples when we're talking about intrinsic feedback. So let's have a little look. I've got a couple for you. First one I thought would be useful to look at is this idea of balance. Now in this case here, let's just bring her up to the middle so that we can see her a little bit more easily. Just need to grab that. She, as you can see here, has fallen over. Now it looks as if she might have been trying to play a reverse hit, but nevertheless she's clearly lost her balance, and she will know that she's lost her balance because of the proprioceptors within her muscles that have told her that. So a hockey player loses balance as she's about to shoot. She receives this information from her muscles, tendons and ligaments in her body. Now that's what intrinsic feedback is about. Another example then is strength, and in this example, let's just bring it to the front, you can see that we've got a basketball player who is about to shoot, and he will be using his muscles in his arms and in his legs, particularly his arms, in order to make sure that he carries out the right shot. Now what we can say here in this case, as an example, the basketball player doesn't push hard enough when he's shooting and the ball falls short of the basket. Now obviously he'll see the ball falling short, but in terms of his muscles he knew how the movement felt, okay, and it wasn't strong enough, and so the next time he's in a similar situation he'll know that he needs to shoot harder with more power in order to be successful to get that shot. So that would be an example of intrinsic feedback. So let's just recap on this. Intrinsic feedback, we need to know that it's about feeling and that it comes from the proprioceptors, and those proprioceptors are found in the muscles, the joints, the ligaments and tendons of the joints, and we must be able to give examples to illustrate our understanding of each of these points.